Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is the first video of a new series that I'm starting here on my channel, which is called Let's Talk, as you guys can see from the title. So this video, I don't know why I pointed up when the title is down. So just a quick introduction to what this series is. I kind of want to start talking about topics that I think are important, whether it's to raise awareness or just kind of tell you my thoughts and opinions on it. But I want these videos to kind of help people. I want that to be the main purpose of what this series is. As you guys know, if you've been following me for a while, is that I'm a very, very big advocate of positivity and mental health and motivation and things like that. And I wanted to create a series which was talking about things that are not necessarily given enough attention or screen time, and I think should be spoken about more. I'm hoping that some good can kind of come out of this series. So I just wanted to first address why I am doing this and why it's something that's really important to me. When I came up with the idea, I got like really excited, and I'm honestly I'm absolutely buzzing to start this. I feel like it could be great and I'm really excited. So I just want to start off by saying, if you have any suggestions of topics that you want me to discuss, then let me know. You can drop it in a comment down here, or you can message me on Instagram. My Instagram is @beautybydevi. I did post this on my Instagram story asking for suggestions, and so many of you guys got back to me about some really, really good issues and things that I am going to talk about. So I do have a list, but if you guys have any more suggestions, I will definitely take you up on it and add it to the list. So definitely get in touch and let me know your thoughts. So the first topic, which kind of sparked this whole idea, talking about mental health issues within males particularly, and in kind of ethnic minorities. I say Asian because it's what I can relate to, but I feel like the things I'm going to speak about are going to be relatable for any kind of ethnic minority, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so I have some notes on my phone for like different points that I want to speak about. As I've mentioned, mental health is something that is very, very important to me personally, which is why it's something that I talk about a lot here. And luckily, mental health awareness is something which is growing and becoming more and more accepted in society, which is incredible, absolutely amazing. And although that is the case, I still had quite a struggle with my journey with mental health. If you are curious, I have a full video explaining my entire journey with mental health in a lot of depth, and I will link it down here, so feel free to kind of watch that to get a bit of a backstory on me. I found it difficult, and I am a young adult female. Yes, I'm Indian and I have been raised in an Asian environment, but my personal family setup is it's relatively westernized. Like, my parents are very liberal, like their mindset and the way that they've kind of raised me has not been negatively narrow-minded. Does that make sense? And even with all of that, and having the most amazing, understanding, caring parents, I really struggled with my whole anxiety process or journey, I guess you could call it. And the fact that I struggled when society is in this kind of place made me kind of think there are demographics of people that are struggling so much more and don't have many things in their favor. Considering I had so many things in my favor to kind of help me with my mental health journey, there are so many people that don't. And I know people who are male and of an Asian background, and they suffer with mental health problems, and it made me realize how being of that demographic can be really, really, really difficult when you're struggling with mental health. So let's just deep this for a sec, yeah? Society says that it is okay for women to feel mentally unstable, to be sensitive, to be emotional. We can all agree on that, right? Like, it's generally accepted that women can be more fragile emotionally and mentally, but it's not the same for men. It's not seen in that same way for men. Men are told to be strong mentally and physically and emotionally. In every aspect, they need to kind of have this like I've got it all together, I have this front up of like strength and masculinity. That is what masculinity has been labelled as, is having it all together, mentally, emotionally, physically, just being strong and able to handle anything that comes. So men are always taught from a young age to have no feelings, essentially, and have this complete guard up. But what I'm trying to kind of bring to light, and the point that I'm trying to make, is that we are in an ever-changing society, right? Things are changing so much. People are fighting for equality, feminism is coming up, like everyone is fighting for their right for equality in whatever sense, whatever demographic, whatever the purposes that we're looking at. As I said, traditionally, women are the weaker sex and men are the stronger sex. That is what we've kind of been taught, and that's like the old school mentality of kind of life and how it works in society. But we have shown that in the current society, that is completely changing, right? Women are now stronger physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, let's focus on physically for a sec, right? Before, it was like women are so dependent on guys to help them with anything that they kind of need physically. So it's like, oh, there always needs to be like, who's the man of the house? Like phrases like this, it's always a woman has to be reliant on the physical strengths of a man. But that's something which is changing and has changed in society. There are so many independent, strong women. We've got women that have bigger muscles than men, and that's completely normal. It's not like, it's not abnormal in today's society anymore, which shows that those stereotypes are changing and they are evolving over time for the better. And those images that people have in their head of what a man is supposed to be like and what a woman is supposed to be like is changing and is evolving, which means that we're getting somewhere, like there's progress, right? But why is it that that doesn't flip and work in the same other way in terms of mental health and mental stability and mental strength? So it's okay for women to be physically stronger than men, and that is accepted. But I feel like something that is slower in being accepted by society is the idea that men can be just as fragile or weak emotionally, mentally and physically. Like, why is that something that isn't also accepted? I just feel like it's a parallel which hasn't really been reciprocated. Like, why is it that men can't have moments where they aren't as strong? As each day goes on, it is something which is getting more and more accepted and is looked at as okay. But we still have a long way to go, because so many men still feel like they cannot be emotionally vulnerable or sensitive or like in any way, and that relates to your mental health and your mental stability. A guy is going to be less likely to feel like they can open up and speak about the way that they feel with their mind and their emotions, and if they're going through something, if they're going through a rough period, men are taught that they can't really speak about it openly. Whereas women, it's like, oh, like, talk to me, like, what you're, like, how are you feeling, like, what's wrong? But how often do people really do that for men? Like, it's not something which is often thought about or given enough consideration. It's like the woman is someone that needs to be looked after, and like, oh, like, are you okay? And, you know, everyone needs to worry about the woman. But what about the man? Like, they also have moments where they need that. They need to be looked after. Like, they need to feel like they can be open and speak about what's going through their heads and like struggles that they're experiencing. And I just feel like even in today's society, that is not something which is okay, or as okay as it should be. Because let's look at the facts, right? Everyone in life goes through very similar struggles. Like, obviously different times in their lives and whatever is their natural path, but everyone goes through highs and lows. Men, women, young people, old people, whatever race, whatever age, whatever gender you are, everyone goes through highs and lows in life. So why aren't we all allowed to respond in the same way? Why is it more accepted for women to respond in a certain way, but it's less accepted for men to respond in a certain way? I just feel like men aren't given enough consideration in a lot of topics, and this being a very hot topic in my head, I just feel like people need to cut men a bit more slack. Okay, girls, hear me out. Have you ever been like in a relationship or seeing a guy and you're trying to get them to like open up to you emotionally and like be like, no, like, but talk to me, da, da, da. And it's like they can't. Like, so many guys feel like they cannot do that. And why is that? It's because of this stigma that society has put on, which is like, it's not okay. Like, it's not like you're less of a man if you do that, and it's not true. And this is what leads to bigger problems in mental health, mental strength, mental stability, and just issues within people with themselves. It's this kind of mentality which is taught from a young age, which makes men think it's not okay to be like this, and that's where the problem is. So we've established gender-wise, right? Like, it's hard enough being a guy and having these feelings or thoughts, or like going through just a bit of a rocky period. It's hard enough to kind of feel a bit like I can't really like talk about that, or I can't feel that way, like it's not accepted. Then when you throw in cultures as well. Okay, so I'm gonna speak about this from the perspective of as being Asian, right? I'm gonna talk about it from this side. It is something which I have noticed in our culture, and I have also noticed it in other ethnic cultures, which is that you are taught, like men in particular are taught to have to be so like a guy's guy, like macho, masculine, here we go with that word again, like strong. You have to be strong, otherwise you're not a man. And that is something that is openly taught, openly said, openly implied from a young age. So when you throw in the culture's side of things as well, when that's a principle which has kind of been put into you by your family, not like from a negative place, of course not, like not at all, but as something which is just in your culture because it's the way that it always has been in your culture, it's so much harder to feel like you can open up about your mental health. Being of an ethnic minority as a woman or a man, it's not really like, mental health is just not given the importance that it should. And I feel like, yes, definitely, as time is going on, as I said, this is gradually getting more and more accepted, but I feel like within those ethnic groups, it's harder for, I think, people of our generation to make our parents understand, or their generation and above, understand like the severity and the importance of mental health. Like, it's hard for it to be taken seriously and understood. For example, like, I feel like in Asian cultures, it's not always encouraged from a young age to be open about how you feel in general. Like, that's not something which is kind of prioritized. And a lot of people in my generation have grown up in that environment where you're not really encouraged to talk about your feelings or be open about what's going on in your head or talk about like your private thoughts and feelings. It's not something that's encouraged, and it's become normalized to just cover that and have a front. And never really delve deeper into why you're feeling a certain way. And that's where I think there is a really big issue. Like, in my circumstance, as I said before, like, I have been so blessed and so lucky to have a family that have always, like, to be honest, I've just always been that person that's been very open. But I feel like there are so many people in Asian families where they can't really say the same. And even though my family have always been very like emotionally open with me and like allowed me to be very emotionally vulnerable, when I was coming to terms with my own mental health journey, I still struggled, like, because with mental health, it's hard enough trying to make people understand that don't experience it themselves or haven't experienced it themselves, because they can't, like, conceptually it's very difficult. And this is something I've spoken about before on my channel. Like, when you are struggling with something in your own mental journey and the person you're trying to explain it to you, whether it's a family member or a friend, hasn't felt that way, it's really hard to make them kind of understand where you're coming from. And that's why things like therapy are really important, because you're talking to someone that actually gets it. They've been professionally trained to understand what you're talking about. Because when you speak to someone that doesn't understand it, it doesn't help, because you kind of like, it actually makes you worse. So even though the other person isn't trying to make you worse, like, when that happens, like, you start to feel worse about your own scenario. And when Asian families don't really speak about mental health or mental well-being, it's like a taboo. Like, there's so much like stuff in Asian like culture where it's like you've always got to worry about what other people think. And that is the biggest toxic trait, in my opinion, of the Asian culture, which is that you always have to worry what other people are going to think. And I feel like whenever anyone says mental health, it's like, oh my god, like the stigma attached to that phrase is so negative, and it doesn't need to be and it shouldn't be. And I feel so strongly about that. And in the same way, it's like, how are you able to feel like you can open up to your family about needing emotional support, needing mental support? How can you do that when they themselves, like your parents themselves, have not been brought up to be open to that as a principle? How are they able to support you? It's just the way that it's kind of gone generation to generation. It's nothing personal, it's nothing malicious, not at all. Like, there are no negative intentions anywhere, but it's just the way that the culture has evolved. Like, it's just not known about, there's just not enough awareness on it. Like, you're just, like, being brought up in an Asian family, you're just kind of expected to brush everything off if it's not seen as a big problem universally to everybody. It's like, what? Don't worry about it. Like, what? Why you, like, what? Like, don't focus on that. Like, well, that's stupid, you shouldn't think that way. Like, you're just taught to brush it off. So if we put the two together, if we take men and of ethnic minorities, like, they are groomed with every aspect of their life not to be emotionally vulnerable, or that it's not okay to speak about mental health or struggle with mental health. Like, it's not okay to have that problem. Like, you shouldn't be having that problem. That means you're not a man. Like, men of ethnic minorities have so many unhealthy expectations that even if a person wasn't struggling with mental health, those kind of expectations could lead to a struggle with your own mental health. Like, it's that bad. Like, society and culture combined is just not accepting of certain things with mental health. I just feel like this is something that needs to be normalized, as much as if like a young woman who doesn't belong to like an ethnic minority were to say that they're struggling with their mental well-being. I feel like it's something that needs to have the same reaction by everybody, regardless of age, gender, race. It should not matter. Regardless of what demographic you belong to, when you say that you are struggling with mental health or you need support mentally, it should have the same response as someone in the neighbouring group. It shouldn't be selective support for only women and not men. Like, how does that make sense? Like, if we actually say that, why is the support offered different for men and women? Or if you're Asian and if you're not? It doesn't make sense. And why is that okay? Like, it's not like it's in our genetics that Asian men have like such mad mental strength that they are able to literally like take on any issues that life throws. Like, that's not it. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I don't know, I just feel like this is something that people need to kind of be aware of, because I've never heard anyone talk about like men that belong to an ethnic minority struggling mentally. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I've not heard that being spoken about. And I think that it's something so fragile. And I think with what we're going through right now, all of us being in quarantine in a situation that none of us saw coming, none of us have kind of anticipated or were ready for mentally or in any way, I feel like people are becoming more aware of mental health and the importance of it and how it can just take a turn like instantly. And I think this is a time when people should be realizing that that can happen to anybody, and it needs to be shouted about more. So I just want to say that if you felt like you could relate to anything that I said in this, if you feel like you fall into any of the categories that I mentioned and you get where I'm coming from, just know it's okay to feel like it is okay to not be okay. And I think that is so important for us all to remember about ourselves and about other people. Like, you should not be ashamed of it, you should not try to hide it at all. There is absolutely no shame associated with any of it, regardless of who you are or what you're struggling with. Talk to people, open up emotionally. It will better yourself as a person, it will better your mental state. Like, there is no shame with speaking about how you feel. It's okay to feel that way and to feel like you need to get support from another person. So that is basically everything that I have to say on this as of now. I don't want to keep going because I feel like I could keep talking about it for a while, but this video is already long enough. So I'm going to stop it there. I would really love to hear from you guys. Also, even just drop stuff in the comments and then we can all kind of help each other out in that section there as well and give each other support. Just know that you're not the only person going through this, whether you're a guy, Asian, not, it doesn't matter if you're a girl. Regardless, like, it's okay, and there are other people that are in the same boat. Even if you don't know it, people just don't talk about it, but they are 100% in the same boat. It's not just you. Also, if you feel like this could be a video which is helpful to other people, please share it. Please spread the word, raise awareness on this. I want this to be spoken about more, accepted. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. It really means a lot, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really hope that this kind of struck a chord for some of you guys, and that it makes you think, because that is essentially what I want this series to do, to make you think about things that are really important in the world. So anyway, enough deep chats from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Stay safe, stay home, look after yourself and your loved ones, take no chances, keep smiling, stay positive. I love you all so much. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Mwah. Bye guys.